Уважаеми зрители, започваме втората част на разговора с доктор Пол Крейг Робъртс. Първата част отделихме повече на войната днес, на конфликтите, които наблюдаваме в различните части на света. Тяхната логика отвъд просто дрънкането на оръжия, какво стои, какви са причините. И ако не първо причините, то поне причините, които са от обозримото минало. Но сега пък ще го поговорим малко за бъдещето. Знаете, част от анализаторите казват, че виждате ли, ние вече сме в новия световен ред. Други казват, че тепърва навлизаме в новия световен ред. Въпросът е световният нов световен ред. Дали е въпрос на карта, дали е въпрос на разпределение на света или е началото на една нова ера, една нова, бихме дори казали, бъдеща война, а именно дигиталната такава. Мистер Робъртс, my question is, will the digital revolution destroy the humanity? And is this the new world that we are about to be part of? Is this the end of the new world, the old new world order and the beginning of the new world order?
The digital revolution, along with nuclear weapons, is the greatest blunder the human race ever made. The digital revolution, there are two fundamental problems. One, it gives whoever has power and controls the database, it gives them control over what is the truth.
The memory, the history.
Well, truth is whatever is in the database. So, and already we see the digital revolution is being monopolized. It's turning into a monopoly where power is in one place. And it may serve a government, because the government can always use violence and force. And so the digital revolution will probably have to serve governments. But they can end up controlling what is truth. They can control history. They can control what people think or what they know. And so they can create a population that has no valid information, but is operating on the basis of a form of brainwashing, of indoctrination, that they know what the computer tells them when they ask a question, but the computer doesn't know what artificial intelligence is doing is quickly surveying the database and coming up with whatever's in the database. So this is a way of wiping out truth. Nobody knows anything. They can rewrite the history of the world. They can rewrite whatever they want. They can make certain classes or certain races villains, others victims who need restitution. They can create the world that they want for their agendas. So that is a huge danger, and I don't think it can be avoided.
Уважаеми зрители, на 3 юни от 19 часа заповядайте тук на живо в студиото на Поглед. Гост ще ни бъде професор Дарина Григорова. Оказа се, до момента не съм правил интервю с нея, но темите са ясни. Православието, славянството, историята, Русия и всичко това в контекста на днешните събития или по-точно на събитията от последните 4-5 години. Така че заповядайте на 3 юни от 19 часа. Билети може да си купите в ePayGo или на място преди началото на събитието.
Particularly if they turn money into a digital entity, because then you don't have any money. There's nothing you put your hands on. There's no gold or silver coins, no paper currency that you can hide or bury in your property, or you haven't got anything but something that's in an account and you can't draw it out, it doesn't exist physically. And so they can just cut you off. And then you can't pay any bill. And so you're forced into compliance because otherwise you can't exist. So the real question is, why are humans so utterly stupid that they would create something like this? Why do we need it? We don't need it. The analog system we had worked fine. All the digital revolution does is give governments the ability of total control and make any kind of resistance or opposition impossible. You know, there was a film called The Matrix. It was about that.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way out, you had to have a Superman appear, the one. Well, of course, we don't have the one.
No. Actually, a lot of people are not understanding that we need the one.
We need someone. So that's one problem, the digital revolution. The other problem is that the way artificial intelligence is advancing with these data centers, they need these massive data centers, and the electricity demand for operating those centers is greater than the capacity of the electrical system. So instead of first beefing up the electrical system so that it would have the ability to accommodate these data centers, they went first with the data centers that the system can't accommodate. So initially what's happening is the electric bills, the power bills, energy bills of people are going up through the heavens. They're rising faster than the oil price from the Strait of Hormuz. And the second thing that's happening is the strains on the system, I think, possibly could collapse the entire internet. I've noticed in recent months the internet works less and less effectively. I've noticed constant delays, breakdowns, inabilities to connect. And this is complicated by the extraordinary ability of hackers. They can break the codes. They can break into anything because the internet originated as an open system, so it has no security. And so the security fails. So then they have to add a second layer, and that fails. They add a third layer. And now there's so much security, it's inconsistent. Everybody's security is made to protect them, but is it consistent with other people's security? And so you find sometimes you can't make connections because your security is blocking them or their security is blocking you. And the real hope I have is the system can't function because of the demand on it. The demand is too high. And it's too unstable of a system to be able to accommodate the growing demand. So that's the only real hope, that it just fails. And notice too that information becomes insecure, not just that it can be stolen along with your identity and your bank account and even your home. They can now steal your home. Not only can it do that, but they've put entire libraries in the cloud. Well, how is that information secure? As I understand it, one strong electromagnetic impulse, poof, it's gone.
Forever.
If you had a nuclear war, all the information would be gone. It'd just be gone. I read an article that if 3 high-altitude nuclear weapons went off over the United States, the East, the Middle, the Pacific, nothing would work. The nuclear reactors, you couldn't shut them off. You couldn't cool them down. You would start having nuclear explosions in the reactors. All information is gone. Nobody knows how to do anything. You can't ask AI. You can't. Why in the world would anyone want to create a system at risk like that? You see what I mean? It's even more stupid than making nuclear weapons that you can't use without destroying everything, including yourself.
Including myself. But tell me, do we know or can we imagine where are we heading to with this digital revolution? What is the main goal? Where are we going? As a society, as a humanity, as everything?
Well, I think it shows that we're not smart. And people say, oh, of course we're smart. We're doing artificial intelligence. The digital revolution proves we're smart. No, it proves you're stupid. Because you're letting genies out of the bottle and you have no idea what's going to be the result. We already have examples of firms using AI, and the AI wipes out all their accounts. They don't any longer know who the customers are. Yeah, I've reported several of these. They really, you just can't have a system in which the people aren't capable of controlling and thinking about what they're doing. You can't just turn it over to an algorithm and you tell it to do this, but unless you tell it exactly how, you don't know how it's going to do it. That's what's happened to these firms. There was a big of restaurants, pizza stores. And the owner, it was 100 of the restaurants. He told the AI to eliminate this problem, standardize that, but didn't tell them what to do. And AI looked at it and said the easiest thing to do is wipe out the account. So it wiped out all the account. It cost the company, this is just one company, $100 million.
Mm-hmm. And it's proving that for the AI, the human doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too, that happens. It destroys relationships between people. And substitutes some robot voice or some program that's they've programmed in to talk to you and ask you questions. Like if you call up about your account, the AI can never answer your question because there are too many questions that people can't anticipate and program the AI how to answer. So I think that it's a terrible mistake. It also raises the question of the enormous displacement of people in the workforce. If AI can take over such a large array of jobs, what do the people do?
First thing that we need to do is to keep the real books somewhere, because at one point we will need them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of this, what are we going to do with the economics? The situation at the moment, as far as we know, is with very high inflation. The money are losing their value all over the world, not only in Europe, not only in the United States, as far as I know from the news. Where are we heading to on this direction, and can the digital money save us?
Well, that's what they will claim. That's how they will introduce the digital money. They will say, oh, look, it's the solution to inflation. And of course, the people will accept it because they're tired of inflation. And so they'll be promised, we're not going to have any more currency. And all your transactions will be made online. You just push a button. And there's a certain amount of money in your account, and it'll be replenished, and you use that. And then they'll find out, well, you can't use it because you're critical. And then they'll say, okay, I won't be critical. And they'll go on from there. I'm very pessimistic about the outlook for humans because they create technologies that destroy them. I mean, you have to be insane to create thermonuclear weapons. Yeah, you do. And you can say, oh, what smart scientists? No, they're stupid. They created an extermination machine for humanity. And the same thing with the digital revolution. It was a huge mistake. And why did it happen? Because they said, oh, look, we can replace people, and costs for the firm will go down, so the profits will go up. So it was done in order to maximize the profits of companies.
Once again, everything is because of the profits, because of getting more money and more power. Is this?
Yeah, that's the reason for the digital revolution. It allows a vast displacement of employees on your payroll. You don't need the people. You turn it over to an algorithm.
Yeah, but the people need money to buy your products,
That's exactly. I've raised that question many times. They don't respond to it. Or if they do, they say, oh, you're just, you're like the people who opposed the Industrial Revolution. It was going to cost jobs. I said, no, this is nothing like the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution collected people in a factory from the individual homes. You see, the way cloth was made, you would take yarn to this house and yarn to this, and the women would spin it. You'd collect it. You'd take it to weavers, and they would turn it into cloth, and then you'd collect it. You'd take it to tailors, and they'd turn it into clothes. Well, when you put all that in under one roof, it became more efficient, but it didn't really eliminate people because the people now were in the factory. But what the digital revolution does, it displaces people. A while back, Amazon, the huge, retailer, online retailer, announced they wouldn't need any people working in their warehouses. They were turning it over to robots. And so, something like 20,000 people were gone. This is happening everywhere. I have a friend who's a software engineer, And the company told all the engineers about 6 months ago, you'll all be gone in 3 years. We won't need you. So the same thing is happening everywhere. And so that is the question. What I think probably this is why they wanted to kill us all with COVID.
They don't need us.
When COVID didn't work, they used the vax. Because what are people going to do? You know, Elon Musk, one of the few people that seems capable of thought, he said that what the digital revolution, what AI and robotics, what they do is they lead to communism, because the means of production will have to be owned in common, and the profits will have to be distributed to the population. Otherwise, there's nothing to purchase the products of the robots. So, and he's right. So the result of the AI and digital revolution will be communism.
Last question.
Or else the extermination of the human race.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's better communism than this. Last question for our conversation, based on everything that we have said on the second part. What is the book that we need to keep as a paper, from your point of view?
They should have left the libraries alone. Because if one library burns down, there are thousands of others. But if an EMF hits, everything in the cloud's gone. You see, nothing is protected from these EMFs. Not even the nuclear plants are protected. You can do things that will protect against this, like put a Faraday cage over them. But nothing is done because it's expensive. And so it's all at risk. And they still talk about nuclear war.
Mm-hmm.
But and the first bomb went off, and I think the world would cease to function.
Mm-hmm.
Because the vulnerability of the information is so extreme, and when you lose it, how do you replace it? It's an accumulation of eons and eons, of decades, centuries, and so libraries, the analog way, none of these disasters are possible. Every library in the world would have to burn down. It's not possible. So the problem with the digital revolution is it's too vulnerable to trust. Mm. And they don't realize that. What's the backup for the cloud?
The problem is that if we lose all this, if we wipe out all the information that we have, we are going back centuries.
We're going to go back 10 centuries.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because we will forget how to draw in order how to create buildings, how to create cars, how to create everything. Right now we are only rely on the new technologies, and we are forgetting from where we have come. And the good part of everything that you have said, Mr. Roberts, is that there are always people that are resisting, that are thinking in a different way. They will keep some of the knowledge. Let's hope that they are around and they are keeping the right things, because keeping everything is not very clever.
Well, the knowledge of the world was decentralized And so it basically couldn't be destroyed.
Good.
Do you have time? I can make a quick comment. Many years ago, in the United States, there was a comic book called Mad, M-A-D, Mad Comics. And they had an issue where the story was machines did everything. And people didn't have to do anything. They did nothing. They got handed whatever they needed. And then one day, the machine broke. And no one knew how to fix it. And the entire human race died. And that was in a comic book. I think it must have been 50, 60 years ago. I was a very young man. I remember reading this. And I said, someone could see the future and dramatized it in the comic book. So I think that's going to be the fate of the human race if we don't first blow ourselves up with nuclear weapons.
Yes, that's right. But at the end of the story, the Babylon Tower always fall down. So thank you very much for this conversation, Mr. Roberts. As usual, as always, it was a pleasure for me to speak in a different kind of perspective of the world.
Yes. Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Уважаеми зрители, това беше предаването конкретно за тази седмица. Разговорът беше малко странен, някои от нещата сме ги чували, други не сме, а трети просто ги прекарахме през призма, която не навсякъде може да се чуе и да се види. Дали е страшно, не знам. Просто е част от реалността, приемаме я такава или се съпротивляваме. Уважаеми зрители, на 3 юни от 19 часа заповядайте тук на живо в студиото на Поглед. Гост ще ни бъде професор Дарина Григорова. Оказва се, до момента не съм правил интервю с нея, но темите са ясни. Православието, славянството, историята, Русия и всичко това в контекста на днешните събития или по-точно на събитията от последните 4-5 години. Така че заповядайте на 3 юни от 19 часа. Билети може да си купите в ePayGo или на място преди началото на събитието.